Authorities have identified another victim as we are learning new details about the evidence. Let's get straight to our own Court TV crime and justice correspondent, Matt Johnson. You were there at today's press conference, Matt. First, always great to have you on. Second, what did we learn today about one of the victims?
Judge Ashley, happy Friday to you. Another major development in this case, when you look at all of the victims' remains, 11 of them found over a decade ago, not all of them identified today. One more set of remains, one more victim identified on these steps here behind me for the DA's office. Today, Jane Doe number 7, known as the Fire Island Jane Doe, was identified as Karen Vergata when she went missing 27 years ago. She was 34 years old, living in Manhattan. She was an escort. She disappeared in February of 1996. No one knew what had happened to her. And then remains were found in 2011. Her legs and feet were discovered in the beach of Long Island, or Fire Island rather. Her skull located near the dismembered remains of Jane Doe number 3, known as Peaches, off of Ocean Parkway in Long Island. Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Force that was formed just last year. Their investigation also led to the arrest of Rex Heuermann in the Gilgo Four case. And also this task force started to look into details and evidence in all of the other cases that remain unsolved. And through genetic genealogy, they were able to identify this particular victim today. Take a listen.
We're here, I'm here with our fellow task force members to announce the identity of what has formerly been known as Fire Island Jane Doe. On April 20th, 1996, female remains consisting of legs and feet were found on the bayside shore of Fire Island, about a mile west of Davis Park Beach. Then, approximately 15 years later, on April 11, 2011, additional remains consisting of a skull were discovered at Tobay Beach in Nassau County. That skull was found following the discovery of the remains of Jessica Taylor, and the skull was found on the same day as the remains of what is commonly come to be referred to as Peaches was found on Jones Beach. Since 2011, that victim was known by various names, including Fire Island Jane Doe. Today, we are here to announce that as part of the Gilgo Task Force re-examination of all the evidence in the case, we were able to identify Fire Island Jane Doe as Karen Vergata, who was 34 years old at the time of her disappearance. And I believe we have a picture of Miss Vergata. I think it's important that we remember and honor not only Miss Vergata, but all the victims on Gilgo Beach.
And that's what today was about. The top prosecutor in Suffolk County, Long Island, New York here, saying that it's about Vergata, not about Rex Heuermann. He's not a suspect in this particular case. But again, our minds go there when we talk about all the 11 victims that were found along this stretch of Sandy Beach. As for Vergata, her family has been notified. Her cause of death not released, and they're also not saying if they have any suspects at this time.
So grateful to law enforcement for putting it together and identifying her. So finally, families know and can hopefully work on next steps in terms of finding some peace, if there is such a thing, at least some justice. Because speaking of justice, there's new evidence that I think we heard about today. Matt, tell us what that was in the Gilgo Four killings.
Right. Today, when we heard that there was going to be an update with the Gilgo Task Force, our minds immediately go to the fact of Rex Heuermann is still a suspect in the fourth of 4 killings known as the Gilgo Four. Maureen Barnes. We really thought that we were going to hear details about that and possible charges in that case. Charges are still pending. They are still testing evidence connected with the remains found in that case. But what we do know is that there is new light being shed on a belt that was found with her remains. And in particular, because there's initials on this belt. Prosecutors telling Court TV that her body was found bound with a belt with initials WH or HM. Heuermann's full name, however, is Rex Andrew Heuermann, so his initials don't match that, but the initials could match a possible other relative. Meanwhile, Heuermann faces murder charges in connection to the other 3 Gilgo Four murder victims. The suspected Long Island serial killer was in court earlier this week. We were there as prosecutors handed over a mountain of evidence to the defense, which included 8 terabytes of material, and that's equivalent to 2,500 pages worth of documents. They also passed over 100 hours of surveillance video, crime scene photos, autopsy reports, and phone records and DNA evidence. Here's more now from prosecutors.
This is a 13-year case, so as you saw, we have a great deal of information, evidence, photographs, reports to provide to the defense counsel. We've begun that process. I think it was 8 gigabytes of material, which is a tremendous amount, and that's just the beginning. We're going to continue to do that on a rolling basis. And, you know, these, this case, the charges in the indictment are just allegations.
I understand there's going to be more discovery forthcoming, and we have a new court date of September 27th. That's the next scheduled court date, and that, again, is going to be a conference date, and we'll update the judge on where we're at. So if I can answer some questions, I'll do my best to do that. Well, he's incarcerated. You know, he's a man who's never been arrested before. He's maintained his innocence from the inception of this case, so he's doing the best he can at this point in time. He's looking forward to having his day in court.
And during our week investigating this case here in the New York area, Judge Ashley, we did talk to that defense attorney, and he says he maintains his innocence, and Heuermann is also trying to maintain his relationship with his wife and kids.
All right, speaking of that relationship with his wife and kids, I know that you, Matt, recently spoke with his soon-to-be ex-wife. What did Rex's wife, soon-to-be ex, have to say?
Yeah, that's right, because 1 week after he was charged with 3 counts first-degree murder, 3 counts second-degree murder, his wife went straight to a divorce lawyer and filed for divorce. But I spoke with her yesterday. We spoke for quite some time. She was in her yard with her dog. She was telling me that ever since that arrest, her life has been shattered. Here's more of our conversation together. Take a listen. I know you can't talk about the case. How are you holding up?
What you see, right? It is what it is.
How's your children doing?
Not doing those on that one. Not going there.
Have you spoken to your husband?
And I'm not going there either. That's already been, his lawyer's already answered that question.
How are you getting through the day with media and with all the questions? I know it must be tough.
Moment by moment.
That was just a short portion of our lengthy conversation together. At one point, she invited me up on her porch to take a look at the sign, and also that she has posted about contacting her attorney. Her attorney, for that matter, has also released pictures earlier this week concerning damage she says that investigators did. Judge Ashley?
All right, Matt Johnson, thank you so much for joining us there from Long Island.